Let's look at this letter from January 25th, 2021 from Samantha Hackett that says, the medical on your file from your healthcare provider indicates that you have no functional limitations and are therefore able to return to the full duties of your job. Number one, he actually didn't have a job to go back to. That was already very clear had she read all of the file and understood it, but she didn't. So that was a mistake in that letter right off the get-go and showed that she was not actually in full competence of his file before she even sent this letter. Since your work and functional abilities are no longer impacted by your work injury, your claim is closed effective January 25th, 2021. Now, he had seen a surgeon and there was other reports not in at the time that she wrote this letter. So I'm going to show you what happened over the next couple of days in their offices from the files. So here we have Samantha Hackett on the 28th. So 3 days later, she's requesting a update on the chiro. So it says the most recent report from December 2020 indicates a slight increase in hip and knee stiffness with care at once weekly. So even then, they knew that Dustin still needed to see a chiropractor at least once a week. Okay? No indication that it was chiro on the knee. It was the increase in his hip and knee stiffness. So, and it doesn't really indicate which knee. So, but we know that originally it was the hips that was causing the need for the chiro to begin with. So, right there, and is directly factual compared to the last letter we got that said it was his knee only that was being treated, and because of that, he was no longer going to receive chiro treatment. But yet, back on the 28th of January 2021, they knew that once a week care was pretty well needed. That's where the medical was leading them. Now remember, she also cleared him for work at a marine job and on site in the oil sands. On the 25th of January 2021, she said that. On February the 2nd, 2021, Terry Fogwell said that, as we discussed, given this client's reliance on a knee brace secondary to reported instability, it is questionable whether or not it is reasonable or acceptable to have this client working on an industrial site. Clearance to work in this capacity would depend on the individual circumstances. Also, I'm not sure that this client would receive clearance from Transport Canada to work in a marine environment given the requirement for a knee brace to prevent re-injury. So yeah, he was not actually cleared by the medical information to go back to either of the jobs that they forced him or were trying to force him back into. The Google doctors like Samantha Hackett and a few of the other ones on his file. That's why I call them Google doctors, because this is the medical evidence. This is waiting to get the medical evidence. This is called a safe return to work that the caseworkers did not give Dustin, not at all. They always jumped the gun. They always went ahead and just did what they wanted, not what the medical evidence was showing them. And no one is reading his damn file. It's quite clear they're not reading his file. And lastly, they're supposed to weigh the evidence. They're supposed to weigh the evidence. And it's quite clear that if they were weighing the evidence in Dustin's best interest, they would never recommend going back to work on an industrial site or at sea. Why? Because the risk is there to have a reoccurrence or do more damage. It is what it is. I don't know why it's so hard to get it through their thick skulls and the Premier's thick skull and Lisa Dempster's thick skull and the Board of Directors' thick skull and Ann Martin's thick skull and Sonia Stanford's thick skull, along with every case manager that we've had to deal with, their thick skulls, that they're not following the medical evidence. They're not doing it. They're making it up as they go along, and they're even ignoring, using their own medical consultants.